Before I take requests, just a few reminders about your final exam. So you took part of it yesterday. The other part is mostly I kind of summarized all of the topics that are on there, but you will take the other part of your final on final exam day, which for you guys is Wednesday. I won't even see you on Tuesday. So make sure you're prepared, make a 3x5 note card to use as a cheat sheet, but know that you are turning it back in. And then the review is just like the actual test, just with different numbers. Some of you need this, like some of you need to pass this to keep the grade that you have. So, you know, consider that. The blue puzzle piece is for a grade. You have to have it turned in by Monday before midnight. No exceptions. The green one is extra credit. So use that to really see how you'll do on real things. I recorded all my classes. They ask different questions usually. So feel free to watch those if you need extra help. Any questions on that? Okay, so then the first request was for number 14. Okay, so someone thinks this one might be wrong, like the question is wrong. So let's see. An Olympic high diver uses a springboard to leap into the air to perform a forward double somersault. The expression there is written to represent the height in feet of the diver T seconds after he jumps. So someone showed me with their arm, like how they would look in the air. Like their movement, not just like. Okay, yeah. So that is a U shape. An upside down U shape. So like right, they're jumping off the springboard, going up in the air, and then hitting the water. So where on this diagram would the springboard be? The vertex. The springboard is right in the middle of their. No. Oh no. Like right here would be their springboard, or wherever. It might be higher up. Yeah, it might be a little. So what you would have to do, probably the easiest thing to do, would be to put it in decimals, and then you just need to look in the right area. So negative 16x squared plus 16x plus 10. Notice I switched the t's for x's so that I can actually see it on the graph. And the negative values wouldn't make any sense, right? You can't have negative time, you can't have negative height. So you would have to start where the height is positive, which is here. All right, so at 0 seconds, the diver was at a height of 10, so that's where the springboard was. Questions on that? Okay. So 10 on that one.
I think it's 10.
Okay, other requests. Number 10, you guys can't have headphones in anymore. No more. You're learning now. So that means okay, okay. No one has a question on 10 anymore? Okay, then let's go. So listen, stop talking, you're ruining the recording. So it says complete the square to reveal the vertex form and minimum value of the equation. I think, as we learned from the constructor response, not everyone remembers all the steps for completing the square. I don't think we necessarily need those steps for this problem. It did say something about the vertex form. That formula I am providing you on your final. It's going to be on the screen, but I will not tell you how to use it on final exam day. So you might need to make a note card and like remind yourself how to use it. But when it's in vertex form, what numbers make up the vertex? The H and K is my vertex. So this piece is given to you I don't tell you that HK is the vertex, but I am telling you now so that you could probably put it on your note card. So looking at this, these are all in vertex form. And then, well, it also gives us the equation in standard form. So let's graph that to see what our vertex is. So you guys can handle that. So x squared plus 4x plus 7. Right, x squared plus 4x plus 7.
Yeah.
And then my vertex is -2, 3. So my vertex right now is -2, 3. Which of these options would have that for the H and the K? Is it only A that could possibly be it?
It can also possibly be B.
Because these two are exactly the same, at least for this part. Okay, so if you're wondering, like, that's a +2, not a -2. The H is always opposite of how it looks in the formula. Because if I'm plugging in a -2 in the formula, it looks like this. What happens to that double negative? It becomes a positive. So that's why it looks positive in here. So it's definitely not these because they have the X and Y switch. Between these two, they have different minimums. So this you might not know, so you can probably write that down. When we talk about the minimum is referring to the Y value of your vertex. Okay, so know that now. When we ask for the minimum, technically we're just asking about the Y value of the vertex, not the both of them. Minimum is the Y value of the vertex. So then what's my answer, A or B? And then it might be shuffled on yours, but on my screen, it is A.
Wait, what did you write? That one again?
Minimum is the Y value of your vertex. Not the whole vertex, just the Y value. Okay, questions on this one? Okay, questions on others? Number 4. Number 4. Okay, so we have average rate of change. I think all my classes asked me about this today. When you hear the phrase average rate of change, you should be thinking of a certain formula. What formula? Okay, good. Now, normally for this formula, you need 2 coordinates, and I don't have that. I don't even have a table or a graph. What I do have is an equation, and then all of the average rate of change problems always tell you where to look at between what 2 intervals. So this one says from 5 to 7. So those are X values. So those would be my X's of my coordinates. I just need the Y's. How could I figure out the Y's? Okay, you could do that. You could graph this and then see like what's the Y when X is 5, what's the Y when X is 7. What's another thing you could do? You could. It gives you an equation in function notation. It gives you some X's. So you could also do f of 5 equals 4 times 5 squared minus 3. So left side is just notation. What's the output when the input is 5? 97. 97. So use a calculator, put that whole right side in the calculator. And then switch and repeat. Now plug in the 7. So then it's 4 times 7 squared minus 3. Plug that into the calculator. What do you get? 193. So again, use the calculator. But now you have your coordinates and you can just label them x1, y1, the other one x2, y2, and then now into the formula. So the way that I labeled it is 193 minus 97 over 7 minus 5. So 7 minus 5 is 2. I know that. This I would need a calculator for. What's 193 minus 97? 96. 96. And then 96 divided by 2, you need to do that part also is what?
48.
So that is my average rate of change. It needs to be after you plug it in here and then fully simplify it. So sometimes it's a decimal, but yeah, 48. It's changing by an average of 48 between those two. So good there? Other questions? Number 9. Okay, so what are the zeros of this one? Okay, the one you have a question on this one. You could solve this a number of different ways, whatever way you want. Quadratic formula, graphing, factoring, maybe the square, it's up to you. Yeah, those are all the methods. Number 7. Okay, this one's a good one. So the graph shows 3 different types of function. All of these we have learned this year. So what type of function is the red one?
The red one.
Good, also known as what type of function? Linear. Yes, it is slope intercept. But it's linear, it's the one that's a straight line, as shown. What type of function is the blue one?
Quadratic.
Good. And we know because it's U-shaped and because it has an x squared in it.
Oh, why is it automatically off?
I don't know, so that we can distinguish between them. And then the green one is what type? Exponential. Exponentials always look like it's either increasing at a really fast rate or decreasing at a really fast rate, like this one. And I can also tell from the equation, it's y equals a times b to the x, just so you know. Those are the 3 main kinds we learned this year. Now, what this one is specifically asking for is of f of x and h of x. So of the linear and the exponential, which of those will eventually exceed the quadratic as x goes to positive infinity? So let me rephrase it. So between the linear and exponential, which one will eventually exceed the quadratic? Well, if you continue the graph with something like this, so this one's like going that way. The red one looks like it's going here. So the blue exceeds the red, right? Would you agree with me? And then the green, it kind of looks like it's going straight up, but it's just growing at a really, really fast rate. So which one is exceeding it? The green one, which is exponential. Like the y values is like, so like passes and then keeps being higher. Yeah. We'll know which one is higher.
I was walking up there and photo eyes.
Miss Medina. He is. Should he bring his stuff? Okay. All right, no problem. Based on this being a quadratic, we learned a bunch of different ways to solve them. And then looking at the answers, what might be the best way to solve it? No.
Or no, quadratic.
Well, it's a quadratic for sure. Quadratic formula, I think would be that. Okay, boys, stop talking, please. So, I agree that quadratic formula might be best. There is a way you could also check your answer with decimals, but then you also have to know how to type in all your answers, basically. I do think quadratic formula would be best since my answers are irrational. You do not have to put the quadratic formula on your note card. I will provide it. But you just have to know how to use it. So to use it, you need the equation to be in standard form set equal to 0. Is it? Okay, so good. Then you identify your A, B, and C. What's my A? What's my B? What's my C? Okay, so there's that. Then it's just a matter of plugging it in. So what goes here, Nelson? And anytime you guys plug stuff in, you should use what? Okay, good. Parentheses was the key thing there. What goes here where my mouse is? What goes here? Okay, all over 2 times what? 1. So any questions on the plugging in? I would not try to combine anything in this step. I would just wait till the next step to do that. Because then that's how you make silly mistakes. So then I have -12 here, so there's no double negative right there. Plus or minus, we're gonna put that in the calculator here shortly. All over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, if you look at my answers, none of them start with a -12. None of them even have a denominator. So that's probably because they're all gonna be divisible by 2, even this one, the one that's gonna be a radical. So real quick, put this in your calculator with the parentheses and everything. What do you get under there? Under the square root symbol. 80 something, 84. So, do you guys remember how to simplify the radical? How?
Wait, that's
The radical, yeah.
you negative 12 plus.
Okay, so let's hold for a second. So, looking at my answer is definitely gonna be negative. So that should narrow us down to 2 possible answers, right? So we can eliminate the first one and the third one. Yeah, each one will eventually be divisible by 2, but we need to figure out what goes under here.
You do that try to.
You need to make a factor tree.
Oh, God.
So what multiplies to 84?
84 and 1.
We don't want to do 1.
It would be 2 and 2.
42 and 2. 2 is prime, 42 is not. Break down 42.
21 and 2.
And then 2 is prime, 21 is not.
70.
So only look at the prime numbers. I'll even cross these out, so I know you're not looking at the non-prime numbers. Remember what I told you to pretend the radical is? A jail. To escape the jail, you need a partner. So which one gets to escape? 2. And there's only 1 pair, so I write it once out here. There are multiple you times.
I never understood.
Well, sorry, we're supposed to learn it on a Sunday. Anyway, these don't have a pair, right? So where do they go?
They go in every one.
They don't get to escape the jail. You do multiply them, so yeah, this is my radical. Which one looks most like it? This one. So the reason why the 2 goes away, so I'm gonna erase this part and make it 2 radical 21. These all are divisible by 2. So like this cancels to -6, this just cancels to 2, and then that 2 cancels to 1. So that's why this ends up becoming -6 plus or minus the square root of 21. Questions? Yes, exactly.
I heard my thought.
Yeah. We might have more. Any questions?
That's.
Ready?
Remind me on Monday.
This is not even.